Good evening and welcome to True Dougman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sighting or encounter and would like for me to share it on my channel, then please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Like, comment, and subscribe. As you all know, I haven't been uploading no new encounters because I didn't have a way of doing it. But now that I have a way of doing it, I will be uploading on a regular. I will be pushing these encounters out. I will be giving y'all something to listen to. In this, I give you my word. Because I'm grateful for everyone that's stuck in there with me. I will be uploading Ty J's too, because that episode is coming to an end, and it's so good. Now, this Dougman creature. When it comes to this creature, how come people have all the answers? How come people know everything? It's impossible for a person to know everything. Every time when I'm asked, what is a Dougman, Marvin? I don't know. Because I don't know. It's not enough data or information on this creature to say what it is. That's what we should be doing, working together to find out what this creature is and others. But no, we bicker. Because you know something that I don't know. That makes you better. No, it don't. Anonymity means a lot. And I breaks that for no one. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, this encounter right here comes from my eyewitness, who was getting ready to meet this guy about some property. So he meet up with him. They get out, takes him on the property. They don't go in the house first. He walks, shows him, the barn. And my eyewitness said, well, look like the barn needs some work done to it. It's like, yeah, yes, you're right, it do. I never got around to it. And that's what don't want to say. So he opens the door, and this horrific smell hits them, my eyewitness said. He said, what the hell is that? He said it smelled like urine, blood, and something that been sitting out in the sun for a week. Rotten. So they turn around and walks down to the pond because he wanted to show him the pond. Walks in the tree line, gets on the path, and walks down to the pond. So he showed him, this is all yours. Except on the other side of the pond. And he asked him, my witness asked him, was any fish in this pond? And he said, it was. You might have to get some and put in there yourself. You trying to raise them and you know, catch your own fish? So my witness said, okay. So they turn around and he walks back up the path. Now he takes them and they're going towards the house. My eyewitness then asked him, why do y'all got cages on, you know, all the windows? And the owner said, you know, just something different. That's when my eyewitness said, what y'all got, people trying to break in people's houses around here? And he said the owner giggled, like, no, okay, ain't nobody trying to break in nobody's houses around here. So he takes them inside, he, you know, show them all the inside. Then they leave back out and they stand on the front porch talking, and they came to a deal. So they both left. My eyewitness said the next day he gets up and he decide to go over there and start doing little minor patches, you know, here and there, a nail, a screw. So he gets there, get out his car, he walks, and he see that the whole door is gone off this bond too. So he goes and he walks down there. When he walks down there, before he even can get to the inside of it, he could smell that horrific smell. That putrid smell, he said, that almost made him vomit. He put his hand over his mouth and his nose, and he walks inside. He walks all the way to the back. When he gets to the back, that's when he says something catches his eyes. Just to the left, he see what looks like an impression in the dirt. Like something or somebody was sleeping or laying there. But he just didn't know what. So he leaves out and he walks over to the tree line, down the path, down towards the pond. When he gets down there towards the pond, he noticed that it was 3 trees that was cut real low and that was made like, you know, you could sit down like a seat. So my eyewitness said he sat there. And while he was sitting there, that's when he heard it. Crack! Crack! He holds his hands up and he looks over on the other side of the tree line. He looks to his left, he looks to his right, but he sees nothing. So he stands up. He begins to walk to his right. He said, as he was walking, he can hear something, but he don't know what. Something walking with him. So he stopped. When he stopped, this thing stopped. He looks over there, sees nothing. Started walking again. This thing started to walk again. He stopped this thing stop. He looks over. He sees nothing again. But before he started to walk again, he noticed that it was a gap in the brush. So he was saying, whatever this is, gotta come past that huge gap. So he began to walk. And as he's walking, he's looking out the corner of his eye. As he's walking, this thing starts to walk. He said he stopped. This thing stopped. Right there at the opening. So he's looking over there. He said that's when he see a head raise up that looked like a giant German shepherd head with a long snout. Said this thing had pointed ears. Said it was looking right over there at him. That's when he turns, walks down, and begins to walk up the path, not looking back. He said as he's walking up the path, splash! He hear this loud splash in the water. That's when he picked up his pace. Picked up the pace. Hurry up. Got out of the tree line. And he went straight to his car. He sat in his car. And when he sat in his car, he looked over. And when he looked over, he said he saw the biggest German shepherd that he ever seen. He said, but would make it so scary and amazing is that this thing was standing on his back, 2 legs. And he said, what the fuck is that? Starts his car up. He said that's when this dog-like creature began to walk out of the tree line in his direction. He said he slowly begins to back out. Slowly begins to back out. This creature still walking towards his direction. He's backing out. Then he put it back in drive, turns it, and begins to leave out. He said as he's leaving out, driving down that road, he looks in his rearview mirror and he could see this creature standing there. I asked him what it looked like. He said this thing had a giant German shepherd head, long snout, pointed ears, long arms, massive shoulders, massive chest, hands, not paws, but hands with claws. And it had canine legs, just like a dog. He said this thing had to be, if he had to estimate it, He said this thing had to be at least 8 feet tall. So he drove until he couldn't see this creature no more. Then he gets back to his house. He calls the guy. He say, did you know that these things, whatever they is on this property? And the owner said, what are you talking about? He said, these Doug, man, whatever they is, I don't know. But I seen a Doug walk, stand up on his back legs with a massive head. This thing had arms. He explaining everything to this guy. Now, mind you, the guy knew that these creatures was on his property. That's why the cages was on the window. He knew the whole time. So he was telling the guy he don't want it. He don't want this property, this house, none of that now. He said, because you should have told me in the beginning and give me the choice whether I want it or not. But I'm not living there knowing that them things live there too. He said, oh, I'm going to have to take you to court. I'm going to have to do something. Owner like, no, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that. So somehow, you know, we funded the guy and everything and what he gave him. And he said, I hope you don't do this again to the next person. I hope you let them know that these things is living on this property. I really do. So that was his inciting encounter right there. It go to show you, some people won't let you know certain things. And it don't make no sense because they should. So we ain't done. So without further ado, let's jump right into this next encounter. Now this next encounter comes from a lady that's in her 50s. You know, she was married and divorced, living on her own. She stayed out in the country. She was retired from her job and everything. And once she moved in the country, she said she was complete. She was content. She was happy. She didn't have no neighbors around her, nothing like that. Nothing but woods and nature. She said the one thing that she liked to do is she liked to draw and she liked to collect things. So that's what she did. She said one day while coming back from in town, she pulls up in her driveway. Now mind you, it's not dark, but it's getting dark. She pulls up in her driveway. And when she pulls up in her driveway, she see this shadow run from behind her house straight for the tree line. She says she don't know what it is because this thing moves so fast. So she gets out. She walks down there. And she sees nothing. So she goes back. Goes in the house. You know, make sure all the doors and windows was locked up. Because of what she sees, she don't know if it was a burglar or something like that. So she says she sat down and she began to watch TV. As she's sitting there watching TV, she hear on the outside of her front door is something making sounds. Low guttering sounds. And she says she could feel it. She said it's making this low guttering sound. So she say to herself, what the is that? So she stands up. When she stands up, she walks over to the door. And she stands there. And she turns and she places her ear on the door. She hear those sounds again. Then she peeks out the peephole. But all she see is darkness. Nothing. No form, no nothing. All she see is darkness. Because whatever is on the other side of that door is covering all that. So she says she backs up. And when she backs up, she see this silhouette shadow walking past the window, but it stopped. It stopped, and then it turns. She says she can hear this thing breathe from on the other side of that window. That's when she said this thing tapped on the window. That. And it stopped. She's looking at this huge silhouette of something, but she don't know what it is yet. She's staying there because she's stuck, she's frozen, she's afraid. Because she don't know what's on the other side of that window. That's when this thing do it again. That. She said whatever this thing is had to have some type of intelligence. Because she said this shadow was huge. And she know it could have broke the window if it wanted. She said that's when this creature turned and continued to walk to the end. Then it turns and it walks back. And when it walks back this time, it tries to open the door. She could see the doorknob flickering back and forth. She said, oh no, now I'm really scared. She said she calls the police and tells them that somebody is trying to get in her house. So she said as she's standing there waiting, she can hear the sirens coming up. It comes up, she see the lights come on, they pull us in the driveway. Walks up, knocks on the door, she let them in. They asked her what's wrong. She said, I don't know. Something was trying to get in my house. It was turning my doorknobs. She said, and they asked her, well, you know, who was it? Any kids in the neighborhood or you know, that's when she said, I don't think it was no kids. I just seen a shadow on the outside of my window. She said, and this shadow was way too big to be a kid. I don't know what it was. So they took a report and said, you know, if you come back, you know, give us another call, we'll come out. So they left. My witness said 3 days would pass until she will come face to face with this creature. She said one night she was laying in the bed. And when she was laying in the bed, she said she heard a loud thump on the roof. Boom. Then she could hear what sounded like footsteps to her walking on her roof. So she sits up in the bed. And it's still walking back and forth like it's pacing. That's when she hear another loud thump. Boom. Near her window. Now mind you, she's sitting up in the bed. And when she heard that thump, eyes focused straight on over at the window. So she looking. And as she looking, she see these yellow, huge eyes come up from the bottom of the window. Up, 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 up. She said, whatever this thing was, it was standing upright. That's when she noticed that this thing had a wolf's head and it's standing there at her window looking right at her. She don't know what to do. She don't move. She don't blink. She just sitting there watching this creature. So she throws the cover off of her, slides her body around, and sits on the side of the bed. She stands up. She begins to walk to the door of her bedroom. She said before she gets to the door, it's when this thing started to growl again. So she stopped. She looks over at it. She said this thing was breathing heavy. She said the lungs on this thing had to be massive. So she stopped. And she looks at this creature. She said when she looked at this creature this time, she said it looked like it smirked or smiled at her because she could see teeth. She said people might think I'm crazy, but that's what I got from that. A smirk or smile. After a few seconds, that creature turned and it walked off into the night. She goes back and sit on the bed, wondering if she should call them again. But now she in her head was, what do I say? What do I say? A walking dog was at my window tapping. So she didn't call him. She sat up till morning came. And when morning came, she goes out. She goes out. And when she gets around there where trash at, she noticed trash was everywhere. One of the trash cans was all the way by the tree line. So she had to clean all that mess up. But she know what did it. She had to clean all that mess up. So after she was finished, she decided to sit out back. And while sitting out back, she hear something running through the tree line. And when she looked, she could catch a glimpse of this dark silhouette shooting through the tree lines, hitting any and everything in its path. So she got up and she goes in the house because she knows it's that thing. She goes in the house and she sits down and try to watch TV. She's trying to get her mind off this creature. So she watching TV. She said the next thing you knew, it was dark. It was dark outside. So she's sitting there and she's still watching TV. That's when she hear this loud howl. So she gets up. She looks out the front curtain window. And she looks over across the road inside the tree line where the sounds was coming from. And she said when she did that, she said she seen several sets of eyes inside that tree line. Quickly closed the curtain. She said, oh my God, it's more of those things. She's scared and she's terrified now. Because she can't call the police. Because there's nothing that she could say. So she went and she sat back down in her chair and continued to watch TV. She said after about an hour, she could hear something walking on the right side of our house and then stop. Then she hear something walking on the left side of our house. And then it stopped. She stands up and say, oh my God, it's two of them. She's scared. She's terrified now. Because now she know it's at least two outside her house. So she stands up. That's when she hear one on the right starts to walk again towards the back. Then the one on the left did the same. It continued to walk again and then stop. So she stood there. She stood there and she just listened. She said that's when she heard, boom, a thump on the roof. And then it got silent. That's when she heard another thump on the roof. Boom. Now both of them is on her roof. And they begin to walk around. So she grabs her phone and she begins to dial a number. Not the police, but she begins to dial a number calling her nephew. He picks up. She tells him, and he said, I'm on my way. He's coming up the road, pulls in. Now my eyewitness said she watching him as he pulls in. She say, but he stopped. Bop! He hit his high beams. And when he hit his high beams, that's when she hear boom, boom in the back of her house. And could hear these things running, the heavy footsteps towards that tree line. Then he pulls in, hurry up, turns the car off, and she let him in. He say, what the was that? She said, I don't know. These things is some type of wolf or dog man creature. I don't know. He said, that's why I stopped. And I turned on my high beams. I seen something up on the roof. But they was so black. I knew they wasn't no chimneys. There ain't no 3 chimneys up here. He said, when I turned on them high beams, that's when these things stood up. And they leaped and jumped off the roof. He stayed there all night with her. And before he was getting ready to go, he asked her, do you want me to stay here? And she said, yes, please. So he stayed there for another 2 weeks. Would go get his clothes, come back. Stayed there for 2 weeks. Now, mind you, this is the crazy part. My witness said for those 2 weeks, this creature did not show its presence. And that's a encounter. Hope y'all like it. I'm going to go ahead and upload, and I'll see y'all on the next True Doug Man Encounters. Let's get it.